सागर पार करे प्रणमामि परा जननी जगता विषयं कुसुमा परिहृत्य सदा चरणाम्बुरुहामृत शान्ति सुधा एव भृङ्गमनो भवरोगहरा प्रणमामि परा जननी जगता एव भृङ्गमनो भवरोगहरा प्रणमामि परा जननी जगता. कृपां कुरु महा.
ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुदस्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः. We are continuing our discussion on the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, that is Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. And we discussed the 17th verse of the fourth chapter in the last session. And we just started the 18th verse. We will continue discussion on the 18th verse. So the 18th verse gives a brief picture of what might be called Vedanta-Sadhana, how to practice Vedanta in our everyday life, how to practice a kind of non-attachment and enjoy a state of perfect mental equilibrium even while being engaged in our duties and responsibilities. So that is the essence of this verse. Karmani akarmaya pasyet akarmani cha karmayaka sa buddhiman manusheshu sa yukta Krtsna-Karmakrt. So who is a real yogi? Yukta means yogi. Not yoga in the sense of physical exercises, but yoga conceived to be a unique paradigm of life, a unique philosophy of life. And how to practice in our everyday life this yoga attitude, this higher attitude towards life, problems, actions, duties and responsibilities. The verse says, the person who is able to see inaction in action and action in inaction is the real wise person, is the real wise man or wise woman. That is spiritual wisdom. The ability to remain totally calm and quiet and relaxed as if we are doing nothing, even while being engaged in hectic duties and responsibilities. This becomes a reality when we are able to feel total relaxation, apparently total freedom from any strain or any engagement or any action, even when we are fully active. So, we will explain this. There is a kind of paradox in this, one might see. The ability to see inaction in action and action in inaction. If you look at the whole thing from a very superficial point of view, one might think that there is a kind of paradox, a contradiction in this, but there is no real contradiction in actual practice. That's what we are going to find out. So here the word akarma is used in action. What it means is, it could really mean two things in the Gita context. The one meaning is no activity. The other meaning, that's what is to be understood here, is activity with a proper understanding, with a proper spiritual perspective. Now, what really happens is, when we are always active and when we feel that we are working hard, we are going through a lot of anxiety, a lot of strain, a lot of fatigue, then we are interpreting as something or somebody who is physically active. Now, when we practice non-attachment, we realize that we are not the physical body that is acting, that is working, that is going through this action and going and experiencing fatigue and tiredness, but rather we are in our true essence, in our true spiritual identity, we are really something that is not the body, not the mind, not the intellect. We are that Atman. Then who is working? Our mind may be working when we are doing research in a laboratory, not physical activity. Our hands may be working when we are working with our hands. Our feet may be working when you are running fast or doing exercise. Our different parts of our body may be physically very active, but when we do not interpret ourselves to be this physical body that is active, and when we try to lift our own level of awareness as to what we are, beyond the bodily level, beyond the intellectual level, beyond the emotional level, and when we transcend these levels and when we connect with our true transcendental identity that we are the Atman, the all-pervading supreme reality, we are the Brahman, the supreme consciousness, the supreme spirit, which is an impersonal, all-pervading divine reality. When we connect with our true identity and when we start seeing ourselves as the Atman, then we may be working very hard at a physical level, but we will be able to think, oh, my hands are working, my body is working, my mind is working, doing research in a laboratory, but I am not working. Because the real I is not my hands, the real I is not my mind or my intellect, the real I is the Atman, the supreme consciousness. This enables us to feel relaxation even when we are physically tired. Physical exhaustion need not make us feel exhausted at a higher level. Body may need rest, body may need rest, body may need relaxation, but we won't feel shattered when there is a physical problem at the bodily level. So this is recommended as a Vedanta-Sadhana in the Bhagavad Gita. So we should remember very well, of course, this is only in the traditional orthodox context. Karma in the traditional meaning of Indian, at least for certain beneficial results, according to Purvamimamsakas, karma is not taken in that sense in this particular verse. Here karma is taken to mean something that involves any kind of activity at the bodily level, mental level or intellectual level. So this is a unique paradigm. Now why this is so relevant? I shall try to answer this question. Why it is so relevant in fact? It is so relevant because from a physical point of view, no action can ever be really perfect. Even if we are able to achieve 100% of the expected result, anticipated result, still there is the problem that that result may change very soon. And it is impossible for anyone in the world to always succeed in every undertaking he or she takes up. There is always the unavoidable possibility of something going somewhere wrong at some point. That can never be ruled out. So is there such a thing as a perfect action? Because a perfect action, to be perfect, should produce a perfect and lasting result. No action can produce a perfect and a happy, lasting result. It could produce a happy result, but that won't be for too long, that won't be lasting. After some time, the result may disappear. Or it could produce a lasting result, but that may not be always pleasant. So it is impossible for us to be 100% sure that the action we take up will always produce the happiest and lasting result. That means there is something psychologically wrong. There is a possibility of something going wrong somewhere in whatever physical activity that we may undertake. Therefore, there is only one way to solve the problem. We have to take the help of a higher approach to life and action. Action is unavoidable. Gita itself says in the 3rd chapter, Nahika sikshanamabi jadu tishtati akarmakrt karyadehi avashak karma sarva pragritijayi gunaihi. Nobody can keep quiet even for a split second, physically, mentally and intellectually. Even when you are in deep sleep, your body system is working, you are breathing. So it is not inaction. So what we normally call inaction is maybe some kind of physical inaction. But physical inaction will be always associated with some kind of intellectual or psychological hyperaction. Though great orthodox scholars like Ramanuja says vikarma is nitya naimittika karma, kamirupa, etc. Vikarma means viparita karma, some kind of wrong action, nishiddha karmas. The problem that frequently we have to confront in our life is, if we do not always try to do something good, our system, our senses, our mind may go after something or some action which may be unpleasant. So a constant attempt to do something good will have this basic advantage of preventing us from doing something viparita karma, with the opposite action or wrong action. Therefore Lord Krishna says, do your work to the best of your ability, with all concentration, with all application and enthusiasm and shraddha. At the same time, remain non-attached. When we are non-attached, action not only doesn't bind us, but every action which is non-attached, it becomes a force for the good in our spiritual life. It actually loosens the chains that bind us to the world. That's why Lord Krishna himself says, Yajñāthar karmanonyatra lokoyam karmabandhanaha tadartham karma kaundeya mukta sangha samachara. Any action that we do with a strong selfish motive, it may be a good noble action, but with a strong selfish motive. The selfishness itself becomes a problem for strain. We won't be able to do any selfish work with a sense of total relaxation. A Buddha was working for 80 years. He lived for 80 years. A Shankaracharya achieved superhuman things within a short lifespan of 32 years. Vivekananda 39 years. Sri Ramakrishna about 50 years. Jesus Christ also very short time. So you find some of these great men and great women also in the history of the world who achieved superhuman things in life. They did great things, but they were relaxed. So if you're working hard, making big profit, very successful in life, lot of money in the bank, but you're always suffering from strain, tension, stress, fatigue, tiredness, boredom, then you can't claim that you are enjoying life. So Lord Krishna says, this should change. So we should find out a way to work with enthusiasm, efficiency, and total success, but with a relaxed mind. For that he says, karmani akarmaya pasyed, akarmani cha karmayaka. Yeha karmani akarma pasyed, and akarmani karma pasyed. That wise person who has got the right attitude, who has studied philosophy, shastras, the spiritual ideal, and who is in a state of perfect equilibrium of mind and intellect, who is always active. Yukta Krtsna-Karmakrt means always active. That person is always active, but he says inaction in action. Karmani akarmaya pasyet. He is working, but he knows I am the Atman. My body is working, my hands are working, my feet are working, my intellect is working, but I am the Atman, and Atman never works. See, it is possible. We need not worry, we need not feel anxiety while working. Suppose we are traveling in a train, which is a speeding train, and we are sitting in a seat, armchair, very comfortably. We don't work really, we don't travel. Physically we don't travel. We are sitting comfortably reading a newspaper, maybe enjoying a good book. We are not doing anything. But we are traveling at 100 miles an hour, or if you are in a plane, maybe 500 miles an hour. So you are actually moving, but you don't feel the movement. So you find even in real physical life, it's not a paradox, it's a reality. But remember, this physical action and inaction should be applied at the intellectual and mental level. For that, it should become a philosophy of life, an approach to life, a way of looking at life from a higher spiritual perspective. That's why Lord Krishna says, karmani akarmaya pasyet. My Atman, it is akarta, it is not in need of anything. It is all-pervading consciousness. It is not in need of achieving anything, producing a result. So it's not in need of engaging in any kind of activity. Activity always anticipates the possibility of an unfulfilled desire. We do something for a result, for an effect. That means we want that. But Atman is always in a state of perfect equilibrium. It has no desire. It is the universal, cosmic, spiritual awareness, the reality, absolute reality, the transcendental reality. That's our true identity. So a spiritual seeker can practice his true identity, his transcendental spiritual identity, that I am the Atman. Then he will be able to achieve a lot of great things. But he should slowly practice this. Then what happens is, we can also be free from the problems of work, because work produces lots of problems. Anxiety, worry, jealousy, fear, competition, and a large number of related problems. These problems can be avoided. We will be able to work with a relaxed mind. That's a secret of success of the great spiritual men and women who lived very, very active life, but were always enjoying living in the world, enjoying working in the world. Now Shankaracharya has got a famous commentary on this verse, which is well known, which is one of the most celebrated portions of the great Shankaracharya, the great commentator's work. Remember, we have to remember, the Bhagavad Gita is a well-known spiritual classic in the world today. Just because of one man, Shankaracharya wrote a commentary on this. It's a very tiny part, a fragment of a much bigger work, Mahabharata, which has got more than 1,000 verses. The biggest literary classic the world has seen. In that huge work, Bhagavad Gita is a tiny fragment, 700 verses. And actually Mahabharata is remembered today because of Bhagavad Gita, because of these 700 verses. And this tiny fragment of the Mahabharata is the greatest spiritual philosophical classic of Vedantic tradition and Hindu tradition. And it became such a great classic because of Shankaracharya's commentary. Without his commentary, you won't be able to understand the logic or the depth of this great spiritual classic. So here I shall recite some portions of Shankaracharya's commentary in Sanskrit, then I shall explain. He actually draws a very interesting picture to emphasize the point that it is not a paradox to talk about practicing inaction, and action in inaction. When you read, you may feel it's a paradox, but in real life, it becomes a very simple fact of experience. So he takes the example. Let us say a boat is moving in a river. Now, if you are traveling in a boat in a river, and if the boat is moving close to the shores, you think that the objects on the shore of the riverside, like trees or vehicles which are stationary, which are not moving, houses, mountains, all these are moving in the opposite direction. You are moving towards the north on the river, but you feel that the objects, the trees, the mountains, the houses on the riverside are moving to the south, in the opposite direction. Similarly, we will find that if there are fast moving objects in the river, some boats or ships far away, they are moving very fast, but you don't feel they are moving at all. They look stationary. So, what is moving fast seems to be stationary, unmoving, and what is stationary, what is not moving at all, what is unmoving appears to be moving. So, like that, even when we are working with our hands, with our intellect, with our mind, doing everything to the best of our ability, if we look upon ourselves, that we are the Atman, that's our true identity, because this body, this mind, this intellect, these are all changing things, but there is one Atman consciousness, the supreme spiritual awareness, that is present in all of us. That's our true identity. And this body-mind complex is only a vehicle, an instrument through which that Atman manifests. This is not a fanciful idea, it is the real fact. Because when that Atman withdraws itself from this physical body-mind mechanism, this body-mind complex becomes inactive. So, even while working hard, we should be able to feel that we are not doing anything, we are the Atman. So that is karmani akarmaya pasit. Akarmani cha karmayeha. How do we practice seeing action in action? That is very simple. Inaction means absence of action or withdrawal from action. Karma bhava. Now withdrawal from action or absence of action makes sense logically only if there is such a thing as action. Atman doesn't do anything. So there is no absence of action. So anyway, I shall read the commentary, and this is very interesting. Karmani karma kriyadeti vyaparamatram. So whatever you do with our hands, with our senses, with our mind, that physical movement, that is only a physical movement at the physical level. At the spiritual level, I am not moving at all. Tasmin karmani akarma karma bhava yapashyet akarmani cha karma abhave kartrutantratvad pravritti nivrityoho vastu aprapya eva hi sarva eva kriyakaragadi vyavaharaka avidya bhumau eva. One important point. Pravritti and nivritti, action and inaction. Karma and akarma, action and inaction. All these take place at the empirical level, not at the spiritual transcendental level. Atman doesn't do anything. Atman is the all-pervading supreme consciousness. It is beyond kartrutva and bhoktrutva, beyond the concepts of doership and enjoyership. So, what about the so-called action and the so-called inaction? These ideas are conceived at the avidya bhumau, at the level of avidya. Avidya means relativity. Avidya means so long as we are not aware, so long as we are not aware or conscious of our transcendental spiritual identity, so long as we are not able to identify ourselves with our Atman, with our transcendental spiritual identity. At that level there is action and inaction. That's why Bhashyakara says elsewhere, till we reach this level of supreme awareness of our transcendental identity, we should work in this world as if the world is real. We should work hard as if action is needed. Not because it's really needed, but the world is a gymnasium for us to work out our karmas, as Swami Vivekananda says. The world, our obligations, our duties, all these are different ways by which we can climb the ladder of spiritual life, step by step, and reach the point where we transcend action-inaction equation. At that point, you'll be able to be working hard 24 hours of the day, 7 days of the week. Still, you feel total relaxation. Now, this can be found not only in the lives of great philosophers like Shankaracharya, Vivekananda, but even in the lives of great mystics, Christian mystics, or great devotional figures of Indian spiritual tradition. You find the great devotees of God. Say, they prayed, they practiced austerities, they worshipped, and they did great things. But they always enjoyed doing great things. great austerities were not a big strain for them because of their love for God. So, as we evolve in spiritual life, that's called Vedanta-Sadhana, as we evolve in spiritual life, the ability to enjoy action and the related problems leads to seeing inaction in action. It means total freedom from strain, from fatigue, from any kind of boredom or heaviness, even when we are engaged in doing something sublime, something good, praying or meditation, whatever it is. So even in devotional tradition you find this great spiritual practice. That's why Shankaracharya says, action, inaction always take place at avidya bhumo eva, at the level of relativity. Avidya sometimes translated into the English word ignorance, but it needs a lot of explanation to bring out the true implication of the Sanskrit word avidya. Karmaya pasyet pasyati. Sa Buddhiman manusheshu sa yukto yogi Krtsna-Karmakrt. That person is able to feel himself to be totally connected to the transcendental reality as a yogi, even though he is always active. Because there is no action, there is no inaction. See, inaction means absence of action. So the very idea of absence of action becomes relevant only if there is a possibility of action. Because akarma means withdrawal from action. You cannot withdraw from action unless there is action. Because there is no action, there is no involvement, so you are always able to do great things with a relaxed mind. Very great ideas can be found in the related commentaries where Anandagiri says, Kriyakarga phala vyavaharasya sarvasya vidyavasthayameva pravartatvad vastu samsparsha shunyatvad pravrittivat nivrittau api yaha karma pasyati samanisheshu Buddhiman iti sambandhaka. So, vastu samsparsha shunyatvad pravrittivat nivrittau api yaha karma pasyati. So, even in action, you see action because you have transcended both action and inaction. Both are the same to you. So this, when you reach this state of spiritual awareness of your true transcendental identity with Atman, then you will be able to achieve great things because the physical actions you do will not make the mind tired. Physical body may need rest and relaxation because that's made of Panchamahabhutas. But the mind always remained alert, mind always remained relaxed. Now, I shall just read out the great commentary in Shankaracharya where he talks about this movement of the boat. Tatna, so there is a opposition, you find in the Shankaracharya's commentary, debates and discussions with other philosophers. Some other philosophers who don't accept this view says, Nanu karma eva sarvesham na kuchit vyabhijaradi. Nanu karma eva. No, karma, action is action for everyone. There is no such thing as seeing inaction in action. You cannot remain relaxed when you are doing work. So there are certain philosophers, there were at least in those days in India, who did not accept the Advaita perspective. So such a philosopher raises a possible objection, Nanu karma eva, sarvesham. For everyone, karma is karma only. Action means action, that's all. There is no inaction. No kochit vyabhijarati, it cannot become something else. Then Shankaracharya brings out the idea of what happens frequently in our own life. Na tadna nausthasya navigachandyam tadastheshu agadeshu nageshu pratikula gadi darshana dureshu chakshusha Asannyakristeshu getsatsu gatya bhava darshanat evam ihabi akarmani aham karomi iti karma darshanam karmani cha. So he says, Bhashyakara says, suppose you're traveling in a boat. The boat is moving close to the shore, the riverside, the trees on the riverside. The boat is moving to the north, let us say, and you find all the trees and buildings on the riverside moving to the south, the opposite direction. It is only an illusion, but for the time being, apparently it looks like that. Similarly, our true identity is Atman, but we forget that fact. Instead, we identify ourselves with everything we see, everything we hear, everything we smell, everything we touch, all the Panchajnanindriyas, 5 senses of perception. They drag the mind to external objects, and we identify ourselves with those external objects, and we go crazy. We become happy, unhappy, tired, exhausted, worried and bored. So when there is a slight problem, it shatters our mind because we think that we are this physical body. A physical body, when it gets exhausted, we are exhausted. But the real we is not a physical body. The real I is Atman. That fact is completely forgotten. Instead, we identify ourselves with all these physical senses. When we see an object, we interpret ourselves as the one who sees that object. When an object is gone, we feel disappointed. So the slightest problems at the physical level can completely shatter our mind. And mind never remains relaxed. So Shankaracharya says, once we remember that we are the Atman, then, well, my eyes are engaged in their duties, but I am different from my eyes. My ears are hearing many things, but I am not my ears. So I am tasting many things, but I am not my rasanendriya, the sense of taste. Similarly, the other 2 senses as well. So once we are able to practice this non-attachment with our senses and mind and sense objects, then we will be identifying ourselves with our Atman. Then, just as a wise person traveling in a boat, apparently seeing the objects on the riverside moving in the opposite direction, knows actually that these objects are not moving. A child may believe, and child asks the father, Father, these trees are moving to the south, the boat is moving to the north. Then the wise man, the father will tell, Vedantin will tell, no, the trees are not moving. Trees are there. We are moving. So, this is the important part of the commentary. Similarly, whenever something happens at the physical level, we think, aham karomi iti karma darshanam, karmani cha karma darshana. We think that we are doing everything. We identify ourselves with our senses, which engage in their own respective activities. Now, one point to remember is, any transcendental vision that could happen will help us to go beyond the physical level. To give an example, a great artist, a great musician, a great literary genius, who may be engaged in different activities, writing, painting, or composing, when he is heavily engaged in activity, he is lost. But when he withdraws from that activity in between, it is that moment that helps him to connect with something transcendental. So there is an interval between 2 levels of activity when he actually connects with something that goes beyond action. So you can find this transcendental vision happens to many great geniuses who dedicate their whole life and activities to one chosen pursuit. It could be literature, it could be scientific research. If a scientist The classical scientists who observe nature, when they reach a very high level of concentration, suddenly they get a vision of the transcendental and a great discovery is made. So also a composer, a great music is born, great piece of music is born. So also an artist or literary genius, because they are getting this spark, the vision of the transcendental, when they go beyond action. Similarly, Shankaracharya says, when we reach this level of higher transcendental wisdom, then we are able to see that actions take place only at the empirical level, at the avidya bhumo, using Shankaracharya's own language. When we go out of that, we are able to connect with the transcendental. After this, we have the 19th verse. Yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpa varjidaha jnanagni daddha karmanam tamahu pandidam buddhaha. Those people, here the attitude, the characteristics of a spiritually wise person are described here. Those spiritual seekers whose undertakings are devoid of any definite selfish motive or extreme desire for the results, they are the wise persons, because their actions and their desires, they don't bind them. And such great men, sages, are called Panditaha. Now the word Pandita has got a definite meaning in Vedanta. A person is called a Pandita because he has got Panda. Panda means Atma Vishaya Buddhi. So Pandit is not a title, it is a state of spiritual evolution, intellectual and spiritual evolution. So a person whose mind is withdrawn from the empirical sensory world, who connects with this transcendental spiritual identity, who is always thinking of the higher spiritual values, that is Atma Vishaya Buddhi. Such a person is called a Pandita. Now, how these spiritually wise persons work in the world and live in the world, is a description. So, yasya sarve samarambhaha, sarve means refers to all actions, kama sankalpa varjitaha, free from any selfish or egoistic motive. So, two words are used here, kama and sankalpa. So, here the word sankalpa actually means kartrutva abhiniveshaha. I mean, I am the one who is doing this. And kama means phalabhimana, desire. They don't have the desire and they don't feel that they are the ones doing this work and they want the results. Such persons, they may engage in different activities. But what happens? Their desires or their egoism are totally non-functional, because they always identify themselves, they have experienced their identity with Atman. So that identity helps them to transcend the effect or the impact of these desires, because they have desire but they are all burned. That is jnanagni daddha karmanam. This spiritual awareness is compared to jnanagni, the fire of knowledge, the fire that burns everything. So once you have this fire of spiritual illumination, spiritual awareness, once you identify yourself with this all transcending spiritual reality, which is beyond action, beyond selfishness, beyond strain, beyond anxiety, then you may do a lot of work. At the end of the day, it doesn't remain heavily on your shoulders. You smile, you're relaxed. Oh, if you're a devotee of God, it is simple. Oh, it's all for its Lord's sake. A Buddha, it was for the good of the world. Buddha did not affirm in his belief in the existence of a monotheistic creator God, but he was one of the greatest spiritual persons the world has ever seen. If you are a devotee of God, a conventional devotee of God, it's very simple. Do all your work, but just offer mentally everything to the Lord. So that awareness that is God's work is like a fire. It's like Jnanagni. And that fire burns all desires, all feelings of anxiety and worry and fear of unpleasant results. My work may not succeed. Perhaps I may run into trouble. I have lost my job. I may not get that job. So all these worries and anxieties which normally pester our mind can be completely transcended, can be burned if you have this strong faith in God. Because the strong faith in God suddenly removes these worries. So that process is called burning the worries, burning the desires, burning the imaginations, burning the fears. And as for a philosopher in Vedantic tradition, Brahman is only reality. Problems take place only at the empirical level. And whatever is the empirical level, it is only relative, it is not everlasting. So this awareness of the impermanent nature, the transitoriness of everything that takes place at the empirical plane, including the problems of anxieties and worries, this awareness that they are all relative, they are impermanent, that awareness burns the anxieties, worries and problems. So, jnanagni dagdhakarmanam tamahu panditam buddha. Such a person is called pandita, means somebody who has got panda, a person whose mind, whose thought system is oriented towards spiritual ideas. So the one advantage of having a spiritual ideal to live with or to uphold, to hold fast to is, and at the end of the day, you won't be scared and you won't be worried because you did not expect anything perfect or permanent from this world, which is by its very nature impermanent and imperfect. So that's why Shankaracharya says, all these problems take place at avidya bhumau. Avidya means at the level of the empirical, the relative, the level of maya, which is not the absolute reality. So once you really bring in this wisdom, then we will be able to live in the world with our mind tuned to higher spiritual ideal. Such a person is called Panditaka. There are many verses in the Gita, Naiva Kinjit Karomidi, Yukto Manyeta Tattvavid. Like that, there are many, Brahmanya Athaya Karmani Sangam Tyakta Karoti Ekha, Lippidi Nasapapena Patmapatram Ivambhasa. Many verses are there in the Gita. You do everything. At the end of the day, if you are a devotee of God, very simple. Oh Lord, this is, I leave what I have done to you, my offering to you. So at the beginning, this may not be easy. But as you practice this every day as a Vedanta-Sadhana, Vedantic practice or Bhakti-Sadhana, devotional practice, then slowly, I have established a connection with God. So I should be careful about what I am doing and what I am not doing. So slowly this thought enters deeper and deeper layers of our mind and starts influencing our actions and life as a whole. Now, such a person is totally relaxed. That point is stressed in the coming two verses, 21st and 22nd. Nirashihi yatachittatma tyakta sarva parigraha shariram kevalam karma kurvan apnodi kilbisham. 21st, 22nd is idricha labha sandushto dundvatido vimatsaraha samasiddho avasiddho cha krutvavi na nibadhyate. So siddho asiddho, that means that's an important point. Whether you achieve something or you don't achieve, in success and failure, you are not bound. Na nibadhyate. So the psychology and philosophy of living in a state of total equilibrium and inner contentment are explained in these two verses. The 21st verse is Nirashihi. Somebody who doesn't have much of an expectation. It doesn't mean that you should not have a sense of goal or purpose. You may have a purpose that may guide your actions in this world. But you don't consider that purpose as something permanent or transcendental or absolute. Success in business or academic pursuits may be the goal behind hard work. But along with that strong conviction and dedicated work to achieve that goal, we should also keep in our mind this spiritual awareness that success itself may not be permanent. Because any success in this world cannot be permanent. So keeping that awareness, that is what is implied here. When this happens, we are able to remain in a state of contentment. This idea is stressed in the 20th verse also. In fact, it's an evolution. Tyaktva karma phalasangam nityatupto nirasrayaka. Again, this emphasis on nitya trupti, eternal contentment. So the same idea is stressed and emphasized in the 20th, 21st and 22nd verse. Three verses together, they give a graphic description of the psychology of inner contentment. How to remain free from the clinging to fruits of action, results of action. How to remain in a state of total relaxation. And how to remain in a state of total freedom from competition, too much of an expectation, while doing our work, but remaining without becoming over ambitious. So that state of philosophical and psychological condition, or remaining in a state of perfect inner contentment, total relaxation, even while doing our duties, even while attending to our duties and responsibilities with all enthusiasm, with all sense of obligation, without any sense of negligence or indifference. That's the uniqueness of these three verses. We will describe that particular part of the text more clearly in the next session, that is 20th, 21st and 22nd. As an evolution of spiritual psychology, you find the 20th verse is more important, because karmanya abhipravrittovi naiva kinchit karoti yaha. Always doing action, but you feel as if you are not doing anything. This is the net result of the spiritual practice. Karmani abhipravrittaha api. You are always engaged in your duties and responsibilities, always engaged in action. Karmani abhipravrittaha. You are engage in duties and responsibilities. Still, naiva kinchit karoti saha. Saha naiva kinchit karoti. So he feels as if he is doing nothing, he is not doing anything. That state of total relaxation, even in the midst of important duties and obligations, challenges, that is the uniqueness of this paradigm of spiritual relaxation that is expounded in these 3 verses. So we have to go from 21st to 22nd and then 20th, because the last state is this one, karmani abhipravruttaha api. Even while being engaged, every day of the week, every day of the month and every day of the year in important, challenging obligations and responsibilities, you feel as if you are not doing anything. It may look very paradoxical, but in real life it is possible, and that's the only way for us to attain the spiritual contentment. That is nitya truptaha, somebody who is always satisfied, highest state of spiritual relaxation. We will discuss this in the next session. Thank you. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. So we have some announcements here. This coming 25th May, Monday, we have a online memorial program. It will be live streamed and also is available on YouTube, 9:30 a.m. in the morning to 12 noon. So it will be available on YouTube and live stream. You can see our website, ssvedanta.org. If you go to San Francisco Vedanta Society's website, you can get more information. So please remember, Monday, May 25th, Memorial Day program online, morning 9:30 till 12 noon, just for 2.5 hours, YouTube and live stream. And then tomorrow at 3 p.m. we have a class on Kenopanishad. So you can get information from our website. Thank you. Namaskar. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.